giving the opportunity, and they will share their experience and wisdom and knowledge in this platform. And also, this type of forum was never before the research scholars and academicians of the country. It has come forward to minimize the gaps in research quality very dedicatedly. But that is so very scholar and research present here are requested to circulate this news for betterment of the research quality and value in the country. In such a platform, then your clarification, your doubt about any research, your subject and topic and themes, you will clarify through this research from India. And once again, good evening to all of you. And also, I am also introduced Dr. Professor V. Sai Prasad. He will just discuss about the state chapters. After that, Norwin Akhtar from Bangladesh, because he's our management student, third semester. Then he will introduce our guest. Okay, over to you, Dr. Sai Prasad. Thank you, all of you. The voice, I am not hearing your voice.
Thank you, Vishwal sir. The voice is audible?
Yes.
Okay. So, respected dignitaries, research scholars, professors, and elders, good evening to all. Today, I, on behalf of Andhra State Coordinator, welcome all you to the two days webinar on contemporary issues. Basically, Research Forum focuses on quality research and designing. Okay. So coming to today's guest, we have our Andhra University Registrar, Professor V. Krishna Mohan sir, as a keynote speaker, who will be addressing us within few minutes after the introduction by Ms. Akhtar from Bangladesh, who is the moderator. And we have another guest from Professor Tahul Sahu, who has a lot of experience and who is from Odisha. Who has conducted various conferences at state level as well as national level. So coming to another guest, we have Professor Mishra, from a former dean and a great researcher with number of papers, giving us a brief about all the aspects of research. So coming to our KC Biswal, our national coordinator, who coordinates all these activities from Department of Management, Nehru, Tura campus, who has dedicatedly worked for last 15 years in different areas and explores different ideas and suggestions for the research scholars. So now I request Ms. Akhtar to introduce our guest keynote speaker, Krishna Mohan sir. Sir, Krishna Mohan sir already is logged in, sir.
Welcome, sir. Professor V. Krishna Mohan. Welcome, sir.
Thank you, sir. Hello, sir. Am I audible?
Yes,
you're audible. Introduce about sir.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir. Good evening, everyone. Myself, Norwin Akhtar. I am a student of MBA third semester, Northeastern Hill University. So today our webinar's topic is quality research and designing in social science, and organized by Research Forum India. And today's first speaker is Professor V. Krishna Mohan, Registrar, Andhra University, India, keynote speaker. So Professor V. Krishna Mohan is a professor in the Department of Commerce and Management Studies, Andhra University, Visakhapatnam, Andhra Pradesh, having a total teaching experience of 30 years. He has published 8 books, contributed several lessons to MBA distance education courses material at Andhra University. He got 64 research papers and research reports as well as guided 40 research students, leading to the award of PhD and 5 books. He has organized 6 national level seminars, 3 workshops, and 20 training programs. He got 2 Best Research Papers Award on each at national and international level. He got State Best Teacher Award on September 5th, 2011 from the Government of Andhra Pradesh for his excellence in teaching and research. So now I would like to invite Professor V. Krishna Mohan. Please, sir, start your speech.
subject, any discipline, use of technology, technology tools. When you apply in particular the mathematical and statistical tools, the modeling, all of these activities require knowledge of advanced tools and techniques, which are basically computer based and software driven. So the contemporary research trend is moving towards more quantitative with all that precision, using mathematical and statistical tools and techniques so as to enhance the reliability, which is utmost important. The very objective of research is to explore, establish relationship, find out something new because of these new relationship is the ultimate aim and ultimate goal of research. When the research activity is undertaken, the word research demands what are acceptable topics, what is its social relevance, how do the research undertaken is going to contribute not only to the field of research as something new added to the existing literature, but also how far your research is going to improve the products and services that are going to result in finally better standard of living to the mankind on the earth. Research, rules, processes, procedures, irrespective of the discipline in which you are engaged in research, they remain same. And any research need to be socially relevant is the primary concern, and any research should contribute to better understanding of a concept, of a theory, or a principle. Am I online?
Sir, your voice is audible, sir.
Yeah, continuously I'm in office, therefore there is continuous disturbance. I am receiving phone calls, right? So going back to the very word research, research is why the word scientific is required and systematic is required to stand research. Research need when you have clearly laid down systematized body of anywhere in the world. These are the reasons why the results of research They are not accepted unless you give us what is sample frame, what is sample size, what is sampling procedure, and what is accuracy of sample. What need
There is a technical issue at
and there is
Regina.
a these case studies can be generalized. Case studies are so specific. Pertain to a unit. Undertake same research after lapse of 10 years because of the environment, business environment, which has undergone sea change. The same results may not be there, even if there are results. Hello.
Yes, sir, you are audible now.
Okay.
You are audible, sir.
Did you change platform?
No, sir, we did not change.
Yeah, automatically is taking some other platform. Therefore, I'm asking. Anyway, where we are discussing about why research need to be systematic and scientific, and what are the prerequisites to be called as systematic or scientific, unless you clearly specify the procedure, the mechanism, the designs, and define the methodology, how you got the information, where you got the information, how far such information or data that you collected reliable, whether that data can be used or not, and what are data inadequacies, and what level of data is considered as adequate. Suppose when you are applying linear regression, if continuous data is not available for 7 years, what needs to be done? Is it interpolation? Is it extrapolation? What type of techniques are going to fill that gap? All these things are to be kept in mind before you undertake your research. Suppose your research problem insists that it need to be exploratory, a study on consumer behavior. How the consumer behavior study can be made? using what universe, sample frame, sample size, sampling unit, during which time you are going to collect data, who is your sample unit, men or women, teenagers, aged, and customers of a retail store. You have to be very clear conceptually in your mind. From whom am I going to get data? Where are they available over the years, especially with the liberalization, privatization, globalization environment, with the entry of foreign banks, with a lot of population urbanization and lot of promotional schemes or benefits offered by government, they are all linked to bank account. It has become mandatory on the part of every, beneficiary to maintain, account with the bank. There is no cash disbursement. So governments also wanted to keep track who is receiving at the end and on which date money is transferred and for what purposes this money periodically withdrawn. All these are, controlling activities at the banker level. So you may easily overcome such criticism that it is a redundant topic if you know how to put forth your argument, right? So today's contemporary research is good research always insists that it should have social relevance and significant contribution to the literature. How innovative your idea, how unique your idea, how creative your suggestions in accepting a challenge or in solving a problem, and how good your research in providing a solution at the end, be it a macro perspective or a micro perspective. These dimensions are to be kept in mind. Once you select, this is the topic of great relevance, definitely, as I said, you need to search different research designs, different research methodologies which are employed already through your literature survey. What type of research design you are going to propose? How far your research design is justified given the definition of, statement of the problem, laid down objectives, set objectives, and the procedure or the process, which is known as methodology of doing research. Where you do research, how long you do research, right? With what resources, right? Who is your subject of research? Suppose if it is psychology, if it is sociology, if it is accounting, if it is banking, as I said, if it is export business, if it is a global marketing, global HRM, you name any topic, because I am basically a management professor, therefore I am going to give examples in these areas. And people from other discipline may excuse me for using wide-ranging examples only from social sciences research. See, you take any topic, the success of completing a research depends on how good you are in your thinking in terms of bringing clarity into your definition of the subject, the statement of the problem, and the specific objectives which you have kept, how these objectives can be tested and can be fulfilled, can be attained. At the end, suppose you formulate based on these objectives, hypothesis. This is one important area where social science researchers usually neglect. The hypothesis is going to enhance the quality of research, improve the image of your research. And if there is hypothesis, how are you going to test the hypothesis? Whether I select null hypothesis or alternate hypothesis, right? So what are the predispositions that you are going to base upon? Based on your hypothesis, what type of testing is required? How are you going to test? And in each hypothesis, what are testing criteria? And results of such hypothesis testing are to be given prominently, whether you proved or disproved through a statement. Hypothesis 1, which is a null statement, whether it is proved or disproved, and what is acceptability, what is rejection. So this is all very important. Sometimes whether you prove or disprove, both are equally good. Both are systematically and scientifically recognized as good qualities of research. But if there is no hypothesis, if you say broad objectives in social science research, these days the examiners are not accepting because without hypothesis, objectives, methodology, research design, and conceptual framework, scope of research work, and even in the research proposal itself, the presentation of research, how you are going to divide total thesis into 6 parts, 7 parts, 5 parts, what is the justification for each of the part, what is that going to be there and the content of each part, and what are the limitations. Many researchers do not mention limitations, but no research is free from limitations. What limitations that you visualize in your research, and you have to specify clearly. And a good research is going to be end with scope for further research. When you read, anybody reads a thesis, toward the end, there should be vital clues which are going to provide opportunities for continuation of research. What you have not done, and what will be the scope for the further study. What aspects you have not studied, why you ignored. Definitely you justify through limitations. But if this is going to be area for future research, continuation of research, either you yourself do or somebody else, whoever reads your thesis, should also be benefited. So on the top of the mind, research should be done with a passion. It should not be done ritually. You need to invest your resources without any reservation, right? Some people always spend time on selection of title. Put up alternative titles, 5, 6. If you are interested, resort to brainstorming with your own friends, with your supervisor. You take guidance, right? Some people, they believe research quality is going to be great if I use, models, advanced models, mathematical models, statistical models, which are not understood even by the researcher. They go to consultants, they give their data, they run the data on software, they come out with some tables, hundreds of tables, and the researchers do not know what to do with the tables generated because of the ERP software. This is the problem. When you use SPSS, right, statistical package for social sciences, or SysStat, MyStat, there are so many tools, statistical or mathematical tools, but comprehensive. Or even IBM has come out with, very comprehensive package for analysis. And, if you feed, these are my, set factors which are independent, which are dependent, whether you can apply regression analysis, simple regression, multiple regression, linear equation, program, what type of program is going to be relevant, and what is the content of your study, and what is that you are going to test. Suppose the cause and effect relationship, right? What type of statistical and mathematical tools are going to be relevant. Suppose you are studying distribution problem in logistics. What is cost-effective distribution? You are going to make a suggestion. Therefore, you may take Markov chains. You may take transportation assignment modeling. Or there are advanced models which are available with industry. They are also made available to the researchers, right? There are ERPs available. How you define cost-effective research, and how you define, particular model is going to enhance and minimize the wastages, the cost, and enhance the reliability at the same time. Suppose where Markov chains are needed. Suppose you are studying brand switching behavior. People migrate from one brand to another brand. This Markov chain is a very relevant tool that forecasts, that predicts, and how many customers they left. Similar transportation assignment model. What is most economical model? What is minimum order quantity? What is maximum order quantity? What is average quantity that can be ordered? What is minimum stock? What is maximum stock? Which mode of transportation is economical? Is it road? Is it rail? Is it air? Is it sea water? When there are so many models available, which model of transportation is going to be helpful? When I move, which is safety, and what is the time factor? What is the cost factor? How I am going to optimize? Optimization is important. Suppose you are forecasting sales of a particular product. You define these are the market conditions on which market demand is going to be dependent. And what are those factors? How much influence? Equal influence may not be there. And what is the weightage that can be assigned to each of these factors, which are going to determine ultimately the market demand? And how do you forecast sales? Are there any sales forecasting mechanisms, models, processes, which are different from industry to industry? In which industry am I referring to? This is all what is considered as practicality. Research is never theoretical. Research is always practical. That practical orientation is important. Never use models, science, mathematical models, statistical models or computer software only to demonstrate that how scientific you are, unless there is a need, necessity based on the topic and its relevance. You can never choose where regression can be applied. There are so many techniques, whether it is, you may ask a simple regression or multiple regression. In some cases, multiple regression is relevant. In some cases, it may be simple regression. Similarly, where I can apply correlation, whether it is simple correlation, multiple correlation. This is, the research scholars are fond of using all these statistical and mathematical tools and techniques without understanding its implication, without understanding their requirement, actual requirement. These points are to be kept in mind, whether it is contemporary research or previous research. Contemporary research is facilitated, as I said, guided. If you feed data, hundreds of tables are going to be produced by SPSS. And what is the true meaning of these tables? How these tables can be organized, reorganized, related, analysis can be done. Based on analysis, what inferences I can draw. Based on inferences, what implications can be carried out. Based on these implications, what type of recommendations or suggestions one can make toward the end of this thesis. This is the sequential part. These are all interlinked. If you look at those 7 steps of conducting good research and the essential elements of doing good research, the contemporary research and research designs, as I said in the beginning, they are all today guided. And, unless you justify that my research work is unique and my models are most appropriate, my systems and procedures that are employed. Suppose somebody may ask why you have gone for questionnaire when there is a requirement for a schedule. Why you have gone for a dichotomous question like yes and no, which is not at all relevant in your study. It may be a multiple choice question and a dichotomous question or a ranking question, and how you are going to measure the opinion. Suppose
what amount of money and time it spends on quality research. Both are important, money and time. Therefore, developed countries of the world spend a sizable amount of money and specified time on quality research. USA, UK, Australia, Japan, and other countries also spend a good percentage of GDP, gross domestic product, on research and designing of research. In the 21st century, even developing countries of the world, including India, are spending considerable amount of money on government. Social science research in a new phase. In fact, human beings has an important instinct. This instinct can be called curiosity or the desire to fuller understand a method or methods. This method can be employed for knowing the unknown, research. But research is an academic activity, and the term should be used in a valued sense. Technically, research refers to the system method consisting of enunciating the problem, formulating a hypothesis, collecting the facts or data, analyzing the facts, and reaching certain conclusions, either in the form of solutions to be also studied. The methods to be used in processing and analyzing data. How to the conclusion? In conclusion, we must remember that all progress is born of inquiry, and doubt leads to inquiry, and inquiry leads to inventions, and inventions make progress possible. The role of research in several fields of economics has guaranteed
An overview of understanding ethics and human interface. What is this ethics and human interface? The ethics is a branch of philosophy that used to study ideal human behavior and ideal ways of being. What is ethical and unethical is judged by the social standards, which is backed by the social value structures. Although we talk about ethical and unethical concepts, which I said is always judged by social standards, we must remember that it varies from person to person. Values are the embodiments of what an individual stands for, and they are the basis for the behavior which forms the basis for ethics. I thought that I should start from these particular propositions when I talk about the individual behavior which forms the basis for ethics. And here comes the interference between ethics and human behavior. We must keep in mind that ethics and values, they are situational and they are changeable in relevant circumstances. As the values, societal values, it undergoes a change from time to time. That is why it is not static. So also, the research ethics and research values, it has undergone a change over a period of time. After saying that, the purpose of this very exercise is to provide researchers with informations concerning the real, potential, and perceived conflicts of interest. And my discussion today is to provide an overview on how to manage conflicts of interest and lays out the criteria that the research ethics board that most of the universities they have, after the UGC regulations of 2010 and 2016 will use in assessing whether a researcher has adequately managed it. As you know, that conflict of interest is defined as the incompatibility of two or more duties, responsibilities, according to this particular definition, a conflict of interest, it arises when activities or situations place an individual or institutions in a real, potential, or perceived conflict between the duties and the responsibilities related to research and personal, institutional, or other interest. One of the main interests or responsibilities of researchers is to objectively answer their research questions while fulfilling their ethical responsibilities as researchers. The interest may conflict with any of the following interest of others. That is, the business interest, maybe commercial interest, maybe financial interest, maybe academic interest, maybe political interest, or social interest, professional interest, and personal interest. First, let us discuss in brief what is this all these types of interest that I spelled it out. Business interest, it refers to an interest to protect or further either one's own business or the business of another that one stands in a special relationship with. Commercial interest, on the other hand, it refers to an interest to protect the commercial viability or promote the commercializations of a particular product or service. Financial interest, it refers to an interest to protect or improve upon one's own financial situations or the financial situations of another that one stands in a special relationship with. Academic interest, it refers to the interest to protect or further one's own standing or that of another standings within a particular academic community. Political interest, as you know, an interest to promote one's own political ideology, social values, or political commitments. And social interest, it tries to protect or further the interest of one's family or friends. Professional interest, it refers to an interest to protect or further one's own standing or the standing of another within a particular professional community. And lastly, the personal interest. It refers to an interest to protect or to promote one's own individual aims or interest, irrespective of what those aims are or how large or small they may be. It is important to note it here that it is not necessarily problematic for a researcher to have any or all of the interest that I talked about a few minutes ago. Such interest, however, may become problematic when one or more of these interests they begin to interfere or compromise a researcher's ability to answer their research questions or fulfill their ethical responsibilities as researchers. So, there are many types of conflict of interest that exist in the real world when it comes to undertaking a research or undertaking any research projects or undertaking any personal research at the personal level. Conflict of interest, therefore, may or may not raise ethical concerns, while they do not necessarily undermine a researcher's ability to properly tackle the research projects, to be appropriately concerned with the welfare and the personhood of research participants, or to fulfill the demands of justice in the role of researcher. They can do so if they are mismanaged. The following conditions may arise as a result of a conflict of interest as far as undertaking research is concerned. Number one, a conflict of interest may compromise the integrity of the research being conducted. Second, a conflict of interest may jeopardize the well-being and the personhood of research participants. A conflict of interest may undermine the trust and public confidence of the knowledge that is produced by the so-called academia and the scientific community. A conflict of interest may make it more difficult for a researcher to fulfill the duties and responsibilities as a researcher, given the serious implications that may arise as a result of conflict of interest. It is important that appropriate steps be taken to ensure that each conflict of interest is properly managed. We can note, and I will discuss with you, three different types of conflict of interest that require proper management. The number one is the real conflict of interest. As far as possible, I'll try to give you some examples. Then the second one is the potential conflict of interest. And the third one is what you call the perceived conflict of interest. I will touch upon these three aspects very briefly. And as I said, as far as possible, I will try to give you some examples that will explain these three types of conflict of interest. Coming to the real conflict of interest, you know that a real conflict of interest, it occurs when an individual or an institution has two competing interests, one of which interferes or undermines the ability to fulfill responsibilities as a researcher or as an institution. For example, suppose an institution or an institute or a researcher concludes the result of an experiment, if published, will negatively impact the financial situations of a long-time funder or with the government or with the civil society and damage the relationship it has with his founder, with whom he is going forward. In such a case, if the institute, it publishes the result of its study, then it will damage the relationship it has with its founder, or it may damage his relationship with the civil society, and so on and so forth. However, if the institute does not publish the study, then it fails to fulfill one of its major responsibilities as a research institute, namely contributing to human knowledge. Here, the fulfillment of the institute's research interest cannot be achieved without negatively affecting the relationship it has with its founder, with the civil society, and the vice versa. I will give my own example. In 2006, I published a book that is, title is The Fiscal Policy in Northeast India. What I argued precisely in my research or in that particular study was that why the northeastern states, they are lagging behind the rest of the states in India in terms of mobilizing adequate resources to manage their own developmental stories. To find it out, I undertook a study. Then I came to certain conclusions, which were not in the good taste, that is to please a particular state government or the state governments in the northeastern states, or to please the larger community. What I try to argue in my study, or in that which I published in the form of a book, was that the tax efforts of any state, it is always dependent on the economic activities that a particular state it carries out at a particular point of time. And the expanded economic activities in its turn, it depends on the societal needs and aspirations. And the societal needs and aspirations in its turn, it depends on the societal values system, that is social, economic, political, and cultural. And all this boils down to the mindset of the people. So, in order to relate all these, and I thought if you can use a particular terminology to explain the inherent relationship between them, then I called it as tribal fiscal dilemma. This very concept of the tribal fiscal dilemma, it didn't go well with the peer groups in the same institutions where I am working. It didn't go well with the civil society, and it didn't go well with the God due to various reasons. You will not believe that I received several phone calls and emails asking me to explain this concept, that is tribal fiscal dilemma. What is that? In brief, I will share with you the tribal fiscal dilemma. What I meant was that giving an example of an egg and omelette. I try to explain that egg is symbolic, and simultaneously you cannot preserve an egg in a refrigerator, and simultaneously you cannot take omelette out of that is from a given unit of egg. Egg is symbolic, I said, because it represents tribal culture, tribal identity, and tribal values. So then I started arguing that when you try to preserve a given unit of egg in a refrigerator, then it has a cost. That is the cost, wearing and tearing cost of the refrigerator, electricity cost that the refrigerator will consume, and the cost of an egg. I call this cost at the cost of underdevelopment. And if you break the egg, that is opening of the economy, then if you try to enjoy the benefits out of that, that is the omelette that you enjoy every day. If you bring one egg every day, buy one egg, and you break it and try to enjoy the benefits of an omelette, So you become healthy, wealthy, and wise as the art it appears on the TV screen and everywhere. So now the question comes that how long you are going to preserve a given unit of egg in a refrigerator. You cannot preserve a given unit of egg in a refrigerator for a longer period of time, because a time will come sooner or later you will find the egg is rotten and you will have to throw it out. Neither you get the benefit of preserving an egg in a refrigerator, nor you get the benefit of taking omelette out of that. This is precisely I try to argue with my concept that I coined by myself, that is the tribal fiscal dilemma. So I said this didn't go well with the civil society, because everywhere, any workshop here or any meeting, when I try to refer to this particular concept, then I invited public eye. So this is what you call the real conflict of interest as far as research is concerned. Then comes the potential conflict of interest. A potential conflict of interest occurs when it is more likely that an individual or institution will have two competing interests in the future, one of which is likely to interfere or undermine researchers or the institution's ability to fulfill their responsibilities as researchers or as a research institutions. For example, suppose a researcher decides to test a scientific finding by a colleague that is a bit of an anomaly. Further, suppose that it is likely that the researcher's test will negate the findings of that of his colleague. Given the likelihood that the researcher's study is more likely than not to undermine the colleague's work or reputations, then there exists a potential conflict of interest. The conflict of interest here is potential because the researcher currently only has one interest, namely trying to objectively answer a research question while aiming to extend knowledge. However, given the likelihood that the pursuit of his interest will bring about a competing interest, namely the interest that the researcher has in not undermining the work of a colleague, that is a potential conflict of interest. Then the third one is the perceived conflict of interest. A perceived conflict of interest occurs when an individual or institutions may reasonably be understood as having two competing interests, one of which is likely to interfere or undermine a researcher's or a institution's ability to fulfill their responsibilities as a researcher or as a research institutions. Take, for example, if a researcher is exploring the prevalence of police brutality on the unruly students in a university campus, and if this unruly students' behavior in a university campus, it occurs frequently, naturally, the university authority will have to call the police force. Further, suppose that the researchers, parents, or grandparents are all decorated police officers. In such case, according to a discerning and reasonable person, it appears that the researcher has two conflicting interests: an interest in not harming the reputations of the police officers, given that the researchers stands in a special relationship with them, and an interest in trying to objectively answer the research question while aiming to extend knowledge. So please do remember that perceived and potential conflict of interest need not turn into real conflict of interest, and not all real conflict of interest could have reasonably been foreseen as a potential conflict of interest. Mismanaged potential and perceived conflict of interest, even when they do not turn into real conflict of interest, may undermine the trust and public confidence of a research project or of a research work, and may make it more difficult for researchers to fulfill their responsibilities as researchers. So now coming to how to manage these real, potential, and perceived conflict of interest. I'll take another 5 minutes to complete my talk. Real, potential, and perceived conflict of interest, they arise because they are based on the design of a research project. If feasible, it is best for the researchers to design their projects in such a way that the real, potential, and perceived conflict of interest do not arise. In some cases, however, conflict of interest cannot reasonably be avoided. In these cases, there are 3 steps that researchers must take into considerations to ensure that conflict of interest are properly managed. I will talk about in brief these 3 steps, then I will conclude. Then step 1, seeking and understanding the conflict of interest. Researchers must seriously consider whether their projects or research work it involve any real, potential, or perceived conflict of interest. It is the responsibility of the researcher to identify and to understand all conflict of interest that his or her research work might entail. It is possible that at some time or at some point throughout the duration of a research study, that a real, potential, or perceived conflict of interest may arise that could not have reasonably been anticipated beforehand. In such a case, it is imperative that the researcher or the research institutions immediately reports the conflict of interest to the research ethic boards of the university or of the institutes, and where possible suspend all research related activities until minimizations and mitigation strategies have been received, reviewed, and approved by the research ethics board or by the institutions itself. Step 2, Disclosing the conflict of interest. Researchers are required to disclose all real, potential, and perceived conflict of interest to the institutions. Conflict of interest, whether real, potential, and perceived, should also be disclosed to the research participants and should be stated explicitly before the commencement of the research work. Step 3, minimizing and mitigating the conflict of interest. It is imperative that steps be taken to minimize and or mitigate the negative consequences that may arise as a result of a conflict of interest. Precisely how researchers should go about minimizing and mitigating the conflict of interest will vary depending on what you call the type of conflict of interest that is involved, that is real, potential, or perceived, and the design of their research projects. The onus is on the researchers to demonstrate to the institutions that their management of the conflict of interest successfully addresses the potential problems related to the extent to which they might be inappropriately influenced or the appearance of being inappropriately influenced, and second, the harm that is likely to result from such influence or perceptions of such influence. If you are unsure whether the research design of your project or of your research work entails a real, potential, or perceived conflict of interest, or if you are unsure what type of minimizations or mitigation strategy to implement, then the researcher must take into confidence the Research Ethics Board for clarifications and for guidance. For the research work involving a conflict of interest, the institutions will assess the management of such conflict of interest according to the certain criteria. Number one, another 1 minute. Number one will be the likelihood that the researcher's judgment may be inappropriately influenced, or the perception that the researcher's judgment be inappropriately influenced, and the magnitude of the harm that is likely to result from such influence or the perceptions of such influence. In cases where the research ethic boards, it concludes that the management of the conflict of interest by a researcher or by institutions is inadequate, it may request that a certain safeguards be introduced, specific modifications to the research design be made, and lastly, a request that the researchers or the institutions address the researcher's concerns on its own term. That is the way that satisfies the research ethic boards and meet what you call the researchers institutions own research goals. So this is in brief from my end as far as this particular topic is concerned, that is real, perceived, or conflict interest in research. Thank you very much for listening to me.
Thank you so much, Professor B. Mishra, for giving such wonderful speech. Our next speaker is Professor K.C. Bishal. national coordinator of this webinar. We cannot say anything on the role of Professor K.C. Vishal, as he is one of a distinctive personality in the country who tried to create a new innovative platform for the national level researcher to fill the gap in the present social science perception from member club. So now I would like to invite Professor K.C. Vishal for giving his speech.
Thank you, Narwin. Just my work is just a vote of thanks. Today, three esteemed professors given lectures about the research. The first professor, V. Krishna Mohan, Register, Andhra University, India keynote speaker. Professor Krishna Mohan is a professor in Department of Commerce and Management Studies, Andhra University. Sir, for your valuable speech, lectures about your contemporary issues in the social science research. It will help for our future researcher and research scholar. Thank you so much, sir, for your contribution for our research from India. Thank you so much, sir. Our second speaker, Professor Tahalu Sahu, is a renowned academician and a administrator of the two different colleges over a period of more than 16 years as a principal and district level consultant for Jharsuguda district of Odisha and president Odisha Commerce Association in the year 2005. He is a very active and academician and research explorative activities since his career. To the credit, he has awarded with many life achievement award like International Intellectual Achievement Award, Bangkok, Thailand. The more than 5 OCA conferences are also conducted. Sir, thank you for your valuable contribution and your valuable lectures for our research from India. It will help how our research from India will be proceed and a growth in future. Sir, we want your help. How will the research from India will be developed? And also, sir also contributed and also arranged so many seminar and international seminar in the state level, national level, and trying his level best to explore the research activities in the state of Odisha. His contribution is regard to motivating others to proceed in the path. Thank you so much, sir. Then our last speaker, Professor B. Misra, is a former dean, School of Economics Management Information Science, Nehu Shillong, and former head of the department, Department of Economics, Nehu Shillong. Sir, for your valuable speech about real and conflict of interest in research and overview of understanding ethics and human interface. Sir, for your lecture, then our future researcher, our research scholars, they will get benefit from your lectures. And thank you so much, sir, for your valuable speech. And all participants, my colleague, Professor Jeu Ahmed, and other colleagues, and all participants throughout the globe, throughout India, and all research scholars, all dear students, friends, all over the India, my department, and thanks our moderator Narwin Akhtar, head coordinator Dr. Sai Prasad, and Dr. Sushil Patnaik, and also is a member of the Research from India, and all members, all advisory boards, and thanks all of you. Thanks and good night. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Our next speaker is our state coordinator, Andhra Prashad, from Andhra Prashad, Dr. V. Sai Prashant, who is presently the professor of management in ASM Vizag and a very active in the research activities and has an interest to be the coordinating the research activities of the state Andhra Pradesh. His areas of interest is to create a milestone in the progress of this forum in international level for the research scholars of the country. His dynamism proves his success. So now I would like him to give his speech.
Good evening, respected dignitaries and students. We had a wonderful session from all the keynote speakers, which gives us a valuable guidance in the research area. We are planning to organize such events, and even we have a more informative sessions tomorrow at the same time. So we are expecting the same students, and I'm expecting more students from Andhra Pradesh due to technical snag. Some Andhra University students could not join today, and they'll be joining from tomorrow for a second day session. And really happy to organize such kind of events, and seeking coordination from Biswal sir and all the colleagues from my side from Research Forum India. From bottom of my heart, I thank all the participants and the guests. We look forward for such kind of events. Thank you.
Thank you, all of you. Okay, tomorrow also same time 6:30. Tomorrow 3 speaker, Dr. Jana Clara Miranda, Queen's International University, a guest International University Malaysia. Professor Ekedas Mahapatra, Vice Chancellor, Odisha State Open University Odisha, and Professor M.K. Mohanty, Managing Editor, Odisha Journal of Commerce, keynote speaker. Tomorrow also same time 6:30. Okay, thank you all of you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Any question? Another things, just I forget. Any question from research scholars?
Yes,
Any
sir. So I had a question.
Okay. Ask.
Like my name is Ankit Agarwal. I had a question like, what is the mechanism to identify gap in research?
To whom? Professor V. Krishnamurthy, na Professor B. Misra, na Professor Tolu Sahu.
So I forgot the name.
Okay, Ankit, you just repeat your question.
So like, what is the mechanism to identify gap in research?
You are asking Professor Misra, and Professor B. Krishnamurthy.
So you can pass the question.
Professor V. Krishnamurthy, sir, here? No, sir. Professor B. Misra, sir, here? Professor B. Misra, sir? Professor Tohol Sahu here, sir? Okay, tomorrow we'll see. Ankit,
Okay, sir.
tomorrow we'll
Yes, sir.
discuss.
Okay, sir. No problem.
Gentlemen. Okay, tomorrow we'll discuss about question and answer.